John Busbee with a Culture Buzz, and I love how cultural serendipity happens sometimes. My good friend Ron Lambert, he founded Stage West. We've known each other for a long time. We kind of get into creative mischief every so often. I've reviewed shows of Stage West, continue doing so. And anyway, he said, "Do you know Rose Colella?" Oh, a couple months back. And I said, "No, I haven't had that privilege." I said, "My God, she's got an incredible voice. And she's got Iowa ties, and she just came out with an album. I think you ought to interview her for your show." And so Ron he kind of took over my role because usually I'm the cultural yenta, but he did that, and he connected me with Rose, and that is who we are visiting with today, folks. Rose Colella, thank you for taking time to be on the Culture Buzz with me, because we're going to be talking about your new album, Cocktail.
Oh, it's my pleasure, John. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a delight. And folks, I'm going to have to share this with you a couple of times so you can see some of the visuals. And of course, well, you know, I always play tracks too with an interview, but Rose Colella, RoseColela.com. That is her website. Go to the website, and right there on top is this wonderful black and white provocative cover photograph of, I mean, your image is as seductive as your music, Rose.
Oh, thank you.
It's just fun to listen to, and that vintage microphone you're caressing. I was on right after I'd gotten your album, I was on a long road trip, and I found myself just playing it over and over again. I said, I can just keep listening to this for hours. That's no problem.
Oh, that makes me very happy.
Well, you made my trip just so good. It's just like, oh, come on, I don't have to be here yet. That's only the fourth time I've listened to the whole album. But we want to just talk about your background, about Cocktail, the content of this. Cocktail, of course, brings its own kind of images of the style of songs you have here. But you're almost kind of anachronistic as far as like with the modern music scene. You just like take me back to a different area, put me in a different era. And you are like that. You're kind of like this gorgeous vintage person.
Well, that's wonderful. That's really one of my main goals in life because, you know, that's an era that I really associate with and find joy and beauty in. And so I try to keep that alive.
Well, when we're talking about the era, go ahead and expand on that and be more defining. This is a time of, how would you complete that sentence?
Well, we specialize in music from the 20s through the 60s, but primarily the Great American Songbook, so the 30s and 40s. And I try to find material mainly that is a bit obscure, that may have fallen by the wayside, that deserves to be still just as popular as something like Stormy Weather. So, you know, there are some definitely recognizable tunes on the CD and in our sets when we perform live, but we always find some rare gems to introduce the audience to. And our shows are never the same. They're always different each time.
Well, I get the impression that your group is so tight-knit that you can kind of say, okay, let's see what the audience is about tonight, and that's kind of where you let the audience take you.
Exactly. Yep. We play to the room, and whatever mood they're setting is what we follow.
Well, you know, we've already put you at a distance somewhere. You're based out of Chicago now, right?
That's right. Yep. I came here to get my jazz degree at Roosevelt University, and graduated back in 2002. And then yes.
I mean, your picture makes you look like you're 16 in the picture, so that would have made you what?
Oh, I just graduated very, very early in life. So then I've been here ever since. But I do occasionally go back to Iowa to perform a little bit here and there.
Well, let's go ahead and talk to the hometown folks here. Tell us about your growing up in Iowa.
Well, I grew up in a very small town called Indianola, which is just south of Des Moines. And, you know, I was introduced to jazz by my family. So there wasn't a lot of live jazz happening in central Iowa, so I was only aware of it because of the records that my parents had, and because of my grandmother, who used to be a jazz singer back in the 30s. So she would teach me tunes at the piano, and my dad used to sing and play tunes, and that's how I learned those. And then my mom gave me this subscription to Sheet Music magazine, so I learned how to play and sing just hundreds of songs when I was a kid. And I could never get it out of my mind. It's just always been my favorite music.
Well, I can understand why, too. On your website, and I'm not going to spoil too much of this, but there was a wonderful article in the New York Times that was written about your being inspired by your grandmother.
That's right. Yep, she was a lovely lady, and I just always had so much fun talking to her about her career. And, of course, now, you know, she's passed on, and I have hundreds of questions I wish I could have asked her. But always loved asking her, oh, what did you think of Bing Crosby, and what did you think of Ella Fitzgerald? And she always had a great story. And then she would just talk about her life and performing on stage, and we have all these amazing photos of her and clippings of her, and her recordings are still around too.
Well, I can't think of a more fitting homage to someone you love in your own family than to emulate her through your own music, but it still is linked in its own special way. Mm-hmm. And obviously you're doing very well because as I was doing a little research online, you are one of the names when it comes to jazz singing in the Chicago area.
Oh, thank you. You know, I've just been working as hard as I possibly can ever since I started singing here in Chicago, and I feel very excited about the fact that, you know, we had these two release parties, one in December at the Jazz Showcase and one a couple weeks ago at the Green Mill, and those are two of the most prominent clubs in Chicago. And it felt like a real honor to be able to release a CD at those two clubs and to play with such fine musicians on those stages, and also just to have so many friends and family and fans come out to support us. We just felt so embraced.
Well, it's important to have that validation, but, you know, a good artist has to be able to deliver to get validated. Obviously, you're a very good artist. As I can attest, I've been smitten by your music. Folks, if you do not have Rose Colella's Cocktail as part of your permanent CD collection, your album collection, you are sorely lacking when it comes to having good music in your own life. And so I encourage you to make sure you find a way to get a copy of Rose Colella's Cocktail. Go to her website. Check out that story about her grandmother. It's great. You can find it kind of linked under her biography, but go to rosecolella.com. Rose, just like it sounds, Colella.com, and you can find out more about this artist. You can get her music. You can stay in touch with her. I think there's a way you can sign up and get advanced press releases and things. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, so she will keep you properly informed as to what's coming up. I get the impression, I haven't really wandered too far into your website for this or anything, but I get the impression that this passion of yours is not just personal, but something you want to share. Do you do a lot of work with emerging musicians who are like in middle school or high school, that they're kind of like they're gravitating toward your style?
Yes, I definitely do. I've always known that my career had to be split, and that part of it would be jazz performance and that part of it needed to be jazz education. And so I feel actually equally passionate about both. And so there are two schools that I teach jazz voice at. One of them is called the Chicago Academy for the Arts, and I'm the assistant head of the music department there. It's led by Dan Bruce. And I have the extreme privilege of working with these kids 5 days a week. And then I also am the director of the music department at a school in Naperville called the School of Performing Arts, where I'm able to teach jazz there once a week. So these kids bring me so much joy, and they teach me so much, and they introduce so much jazz to me. It's so inspiring. I feel so lucky.
It is one of the the great American music forms, and you listen to some people and you think, my God, does jazz have a future? You listen to other people and say, this will never die. How for people who maybe say, well, I'm not really into jazz. Uh, how do you see? The reason I'm leading you into this is because part of my mantra for the Culture Buzz is to always be a cultural adventurer. And if you don't consider an arts discipline, an event, music, anything like that is something that's your cup of tea, try it anyway. Just try it, okay? That's all.
Right.
Just a little be an adventurer. How do you tell people who say, my grandma listened to that, my folks listen to that. I'm not really sure about that, but you have a specific. Yours is a very enticing style of music. In fact, what I like to do is say, this is glass of wine and chill music. And we all need that, people.
That's true. Well, yes. I mean, I try to expose it to as many people as I can in various ways. A lot of times when people come to a place like the Green Mill, they don't know what jazz is, maybe, or they've never heard our particular genre of jazz. So I think a lot of times when people say they don't like jazz or it's not their thing, they just haven't been exposed to enough of it, There are so many styles within it. Maybe they heard something avant-garde and someone told them it was jazz, and so they don't like any jazz, So I think just trying to, broaden as many people's horizons as I can is something I'm going for.
Well, you must have a lot of loyal followers, because I get the impression that from one club to another club, people are just kind of following you and enjoying what they see. Here I am racing ahead because I know what the conscientious artist does to get a complete album together and released. Got another album coming up?
Oh my goodness, no. I'm still trying to sleep from all of the energy it took to release this last one. It took months. I mean, I made the announcement that I was going to release it back in April of 2014.
Wow.
And it literally takes months to get everything together, from the planning and the arranging and the choosing of tunes, and then trying to find, recording session dates where all of your musicians can be there, and the rehearsal process. And then after that, the editing, the mastering, the photography, the artwork and design. It's just like every single day you have to work on something to make sure that it's the product that you want to release. And it involves so many people, that coordinating schedule. It's quite a process.
Well, for the average bear, they may say, well, no, she's only got like a handful of musicians and it's her, and you just need someone with a recording studio, right? That's it. And so, no, as you said, it is an entire, literally a production. It's as complex as putting a major film production together, because you have to have all the right people together at the right time. And some tracks have special artists brought in just for that track. And then you have the different elements, as you mentioned, the graphic designing part of it. Of course, have the photo sessions, makeup artist, the costuming, clothing, all these. Trust me, I do understand it. But, when you come out with such a wonderful album as this, and then you release it, and there's always that artist's insecurity where you release it and say, God, I hope someone likes it. And I can't do anything about it because I just released it. So what do I do? It's great when it gets down there, because I have to believe there's been a flood of echo back to you, just saying thank you for doing this, because it's not as captive. I can't smell your perfume in this album, but it's intoxicating in its own special way.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. And you're right. There have been so many people expressing their feelings about the album in such a positive way that we just feel like gushing with excitement about how people have received it. And people have been, sending comments. They've been taking selfies of themselves with the album and sending it to me, and it's been so fun.
I love that. I never thought about that. Gosh.
Yeah, I think we got about 30 selfies within the couple of weeks after we received it.
I think that's wonderful. Well, I know that you mentioned your grandmother is no longer with us here on this plane, but I trust your folks are, and they must have had something to say about, gosh, if your grandmother were here.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yep. And I actually, I do a song for my dad on there, too. Number 7, Scotch and Soda,
Yes.
was a tune that he used to sing and play on his guitar when we were kids. And so I know that really struck a chord with him and for my siblings as well.
Well, it's great. Your artistry is magnificent, folks. Cocktail truly is an album you need to have, and this is, if you want to have a dinner party, a gathering of friends, anything like that, and you want to just simply set the mood to such a sublime state, where everyone just is going to have this this ethereal smiles plastered on everyone's faces, and where the wine just it's elegant. Rose Colella's Cocktail is the album to be playing at such a gathering, a soiree that they'll be talking about for a long time to come. If you don't have that album yet, here's how you can get it. Go to her website, because you can also find out so much more about this wonderful artist, rosecolella.com, ROSECOLELLA.com. That is your entry to some wonderful, evocative jazz as only Rose Colella can style. Rose, thank you so much, and I trust this will be the first of many more conversations down the road as we find out if, who knows, maybe we can have some kind of a musical gathering for people to listen to you here in Des Moines, Iowa.
I would love that, and I'll get my band on a bus whenever we can.
We will look forward to it. Take care until then.
Thank you so much.